Welcome to the Final Banishment. I'm here with our final three, Jerry, Cam, and Charlotte. I'm going to bring on our jury and mini jury right now, which is Keith, Jody, Molly, Chris, Gray, Carter, Aaron, Shannon, Ben, Sophie, and Hilly. How this will work is each of the final three will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. I'm gonna have them roll dice for order to decide the order. We'll go in opposite order for closing statements. We will then go to mini jury for a question. They are each allowed to ask one question. After we're done with mini jury, we will go into jury and they can ask questions, and we will go from most recently voted off, or first voted off to most recently voted off, and then we'll have our closing statements, and then it will be time to vote. A few things I want to say before we begin tonight. First, I want to remind the fans that this part of the game is just as real as the rest. Everyone here feels the intensity who is in this game still. Jury or finalists, you guys all care and love about this game, and I want to make sure that we all have respect for each other. And fans, you might see some intensity tonight, but that just comes from the respect of the game and people wanting what's best for the game. The other thing I want to say is to the jury tonight. I want to say that I challenge you all to go into this with open minds and open hearts. This was our toughest season yet, and I firmly believe all three of these finalists, Cam, Charlotte, and Jerry, deserve to be in this final three. They have a right to be here. They have played incredible games. Whether you know it or not, they will help you to see that tonight. So again, just want to challenge all the jury to come into this with an open mind tonight. So with that, I'm going to have Jerry, Cam, and Charlotte please roll dice so that we can figure out the order. Charlotte has a 3. Cam, I can't see that. Cam has a 5. And Jerry has a 7. Great. Okay, so we will begin with Jerry, then Cam, then Charlotte, and then we will go in opposite order for the closing statement. Jerry, let me get my timer ready.
Okay, I'll need full 3 minutes.
Full 3 minutes. Okay, great. Your time begins now.
Hi, everyone. I'm grateful to be in this position, and I want to acknowledge that I wouldn't be here without all of you today. So thank you, and let's get this party started. My game last season was about being invisible. It was about managing my threat level. I went under the radar, and my connection with Aaron and Casey never really went under the spotlight until the end of the game. I didn't have the luxury of that this season, so I adapted. My game this season was all about hiding in plain sight. It was about making connections in the most unlikely of places. It was about never playing with the expectation of winning anything. So hiding in plain sight. Jaren was first of all an unshakable narrative, but I used Jaren to my advantage by using it as a front to pull people into my alliance. So I looped in Chris, I looped in Molly, I looped in Charlotte, Sophie, Cam, and I tried to loop in Ben. And I said to them, Aaron and I are 2 definitive votes. We can either work with you or work against you. And instead of dying on the sword like I did in season 3, when it came time for Aaron to leave, I pretended to be a free agent when in reality, I continued to work closely with Charlotte and with Cam, making connections. So I downplayed my relationship with Charlotte and Cam and Sophie and shifted everyone's attention to Jaren. So I formed a connection with Cam once TBD had to go to banishment. Cam and I were left out of the Charlotte vote. So I used that as an opportunity to reach out to Cam and say, hey, let's work together. We have the extra benefit of invisibility. Everyone is too preoccupied with Jaren and with you and Gray. So let's work together and get through this together. I told Cam about my second hidden immunity idol, and that paid off when he decided to split the votes between me and Aaron. And then that allowed us to put 4 votes on Gray. And then I got to hold on to my idol for another day. So never playing with the expectation of winning. Though I needed all of my advantages this season, I never played with the expectation of being safe. I was active in my pursuit of relationships and alliances. Though playing my idol would have gotten me through another day, I needed to set up my game well enough that I would survive future votes. So my game was very visible this time around. I got the most votes at the Purge. I got the most votes cast against me this entire season. I found 3 hidden immunity idols, 5 in my entire time on TQI. all played correctly and not by happenstance. I was active in pursuing information, I built strong connections with people, and I used Jaren as a front, and I took gambles. All that being said, you shouldn't have to consider my tenure on TQI to know that I played a killer game on All-Stars. I came into this game with a huge target on my back, and hopefully this pitch has shown you all how I played this game masterfully. And I'm eager to answer all your questions fully, honestly, and completely. No filler, no bullshit, because my task today is to make you confident when you cast your vote, ideally for me. I want to match what I say today to the incredible game that I've played with all of you, and there's a lot to fill in, and I'm so excited to get dirty with all of you.
With 7 seconds to spare, gorgeous job. I'll vote for you as class president. Okay, Cam, it is now your turn. 3, 2, 1, begin.
That was a lot, and that was amazing. I want to say that I am so honored to represent the community this season. I am a super fan of the Quarantine Island as both a viewer and a contestant. I applied to be on season 2 and I didn't get on. When I watched with my camera off, I would do the challenges as y'all were doing them. And I was always thinking about how I can prepare for when I'm on this show in the future. I thought that I knew what I was getting myself into when I started season 3, and I was wrong on basically every level. I learned a lot from the mistakes that I made then, and I sought to improve myself as both a person and a player. On season 3, one of my big mistakes was that I locked it in with 4 people and didn't talk to anybody else. Like, it was very evident who I was working with at all times. And on like a personal level, it was rude that I didn't talk to other people. And on a gameplay level, it was dumb. So when I started All-Stars, I made intense one-on-one connections with almost everybody on my team. Not everybody though, because I learned that if you do that, you get voted out because people realize you're playing them. I used clue drops, not so that I could get advantages, but so I could make connections with people. There's nothing more intimate in this game than working on a clue with someone else. I spent Zoom tokens wisely so that I could show that I was invested in the relationships that I was building with people. Another mistake that I made on my season is that I did not think about my threat level or manage my threat level. I didn't know. I was finding idols, playing them on myself, and always just thinking of how can I survive until the next vote. This season, I had to play differently. I needed to take risks. I needed to think about the long game and not the short game. And there was an idol drop on Big Green where I watched Jerry get the idol and I was like, go on your merry way. I think that the way that I managed my threat level in this game was that I appeared anxious at all times, which is easy for me because I'm literally always anxious, and especially when I'm playing this game. Sometimes I got drunk and chatted in the merge chat, and I was actually drunk, and it was really fun. And I think that I just made people think that I was here for a good time and hopefully a long time. But I was playing a game the whole time. It's evident because I got 0 votes the entire time, I believe. Feel free to fact check me on that. I also believe that most of the people on the jury wanted me in their final 5 or 4 or 3, but it doesn't matter whether you wanted me in those because I won the challenges that I needed to get me to the final steps. The final thing that I realized in this game is that I can push my threat level down, but I can push other people's threat levels up. So as soon as the merge started, I got everybody worried about Jaren.
But your time is up. I will also vote for you as class president. Charlotte, unmute yourself. Your time begins now.
I think in order to battle back into TQI and have a shot to win, you literally have to play a perfect post-merge game, and I truly believe I did. I controlled every single vote, and I wasn't blindsided once. In the 2 seasons I have played this game, I have never been surprised by who went home in a banishment, and I have never been on the wrong side of the vote unless I planned to be for a cover story. This season, I played a game of flexibility and openness, but I also worked out every single possible route in order to get me to the end. I did not leave a single variable unaccounted for. I had a plan A and a plan B and a plan C and a contingency plan for each of those. I was intimately involved in every one of your vote outs and aligned with every single person in this game. Because of this, I would imagine that most of you, if not all of you, feel betrayed by me and my game, and that may put me at a disadvantage today. I understand that and I respect those feelings. I also think it's proof of the impressive nature of my game. I'm really proud of myself and I own every move and decision that I made. This is a brutal game and I played it to its full extent. I always tried to keep some humanity in this game. I think that's one of the hardest balancing acts, and I'm not sure if I was able to succeed or not, but I tried my best. I'm not sure if it's possible to play as commanding of a game as I played without hurting people. The tagline of TQI is literally befriend, backstab, burpee. That being said, I want to hear your perceptions and I want to engage with you and see if there are ways I could have done better. I know I changed my game from the last time I played. I never talked about my personal life with any of you, nor did I engage when you brought up yours. I always brought the conversation back to game, keeping it professional. I have specific examples of how I tried my hardest to never blur any lines, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share more of those throughout our conversation tonight. I'm certain that some of you feel hurt by some of the moves I made in this game, and I understand and respect that, but I truly believe I played the best game of the 3 people sitting up here, and I hope you can be open-minded to hear about it. The only person I believe I actually betrayed is Sophie, and I hope that I have a chance to explain that vote to you in more detail, not even for game reasons, but because meeting you and playing with you has been one of the highlights of this experience, and I hope I didn't ruin my chance to have a friendship with you after this. My game was built on relationships, but it's so much more than that. I was always playing a few steps ahead, weakening each person so that when they did realize they wanted to cut me, I had already made it impossible for them to mount the numbers. Cam himself said to me he thinks I am the most strategic person to ever play TQI. By talking to everyone, I was always fact-checking people and gathering knowledge. I had more information in this game than anyone else, and I was strategic about how and when I shared that information with other people. I won 3 different individual immunity challenges, the most of anyone this season, yet I do not believe I needed to be immune for most of those banishments. I won an advantage myself, but even more importantly than winning the advantages, I knew where every single one was so I could use them as if they were my own or defend against them when I needed to. I understand why your perceptions of my game might be different than my experience of it, and since you're the jury, all that matters is what you see, but I really hope I can answer your questions today with honesty and enthusiasm and convince you that I truly deserve the title of winner of All-Stars.
Literally time. I will also vote for you as class president. Okay, we're going to begin with Papa Crope. Stad, take your one question away.
Thank you. I don't know how I earned this honor to be the first, but let me be the first to congratulate the 3 finalists. Well done, well played. Enjoyed watching and listening. So congratulations. I think I'll just sort of start with a warm up. One of my favorite questions from Monty Python, what is your favorite color? No, I'm not going to do that. So thinking of your original tribe, what was your most difficult vote and why? And anybody can start.
I can go.
Thanks.
The most difficult vote for me was the first vote. And one, because it was personal on a personal level. I love Jody as a person, and everybody told me we're voting Jody. And I was like, I hate this. I hate everything about this, but Jody's a threat in this game, so I'll do it. And then immediately after that, the reason it felt bad is because I was the only person on the wrong side of that vote. Well, I voted alone, rather. I was the only person who voted for Jody. And that could be seen as a huge loss, but I turned that into an advantage for me. And I used that story throughout the entire game. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed that I was on the wrong side of the vote. And I used that to push my threat level as far down as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Also, immediately after that, I reached out to Jody and we reconnected, and we made it so that we like felt good with each other and could potentially work together in the future. I feel like this season is all about like reaching out and all about keeping flexible moving forward.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll go next. I think all of us were on the same team together, and we started off it was very complicated. It was very rocky because we had a lot of season 3 baggage to unpack. And I'll also say that the first vote was very hard for me too, because Charlotte and I are very close friends outside of this game. And by that time, Charlotte had helped me find the link to that bottle advantage. And then from there, I was able to individually find that clue and find that idol. So it was very hard for me to not play it for her. It was very hard for me to be left out of that vote and kind of pitch to Shannon and Jody why we should keep Charlotte and why we should take out Ryan. And so after that vote happened, I knew I was scrambling. I knew that I was on the bottom. And so
Mhm.
I tried to flip that around. I zoomed with Cam. I was active in trying to seem desperate to kind of throw everyone off the scent that I had an idol. I tried to make pleas to Jody, to Shannon, to Britt, saying that I technically have never lied to you. Here's how we can work together. This is All Stars, and I'm not having any kind of animosity. I'm not holding anything against you guys for voting, um, for blindsiding me. So it definitely, it could have been sticky, but I was active in flipping that around and making sure that I could set myself up for the next vote and for a potential swap. So
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. That was also, I would say, my hardest vote for my first iteration of teams. Obviously, I was voted out. I agree with what Jerry is saying, that there was a lot of season 3 baggage that was there. I think it also speaks to the threat level that I had coming into this game. I think that there were a lot of eyes on me. There is an awareness of, I think, the dominant game that I can play if given the chance. And I think that there was a lot of people who wanted to cut me off before I had a chance to get going. And I think that that speaks to the large threat level that I also had
Mhm.
coming back into the merge, not only as the battle back person, which I think Carter proves always has a target on their back, but also in addition to that, the fact that I had this reputation from season 3. And I think it shows how hard I worked to keep my threat level as low as possible by focusing the attention in other places. And I also think that coming back in and being very open to working with Shannon, to working with Jody, to not getting caught up in this idea of revenge showed my openness in this game and my ability to maneuver.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations to all again.
Thank you, Dad. You look very handsome tonight. Next, we're going to go to Jody.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations. None of you voted me out, so I really don't have any baggage with any of y'all, and I'm proud that you all made it here. And I know the jury has some tough cues, and you've all been on the jury before, so I know y'all are prepped and ready to go. My question tonight is there something in the game that you did that only you did and you didn't feel the need to tell anyone about?
I can go first. I don't think anyone is aware of the full extent of any of my relationships in this game. I don't think anyone knows that Sophie and I truly were partners for a lot of the post merge. I don't think people know the closeness that I had with Cam or the closeness that I had with Jerry. I think that I had every piece of information and was so intentional about when I shared it and who I shared it with, saving it as long as possible until I could use it for leverage. So honestly, I don't think that there's a single thing that I don't think my full game is known by any one of you guys.
Thanks.
I can jump in, I guess. I I think I am just going to echo what Charlotte said. I played my role in this game was like an information broker. I was a fact checker, and I passed information from one alliance to another and ensured that I always had somebody on either side. And sometimes there were 3 people, sometimes I had 2 people on each side. Like, I needed to make sure that I could build trust by saying, here's the plan that they're doing. What plan are you doing? And even if you're not going to tell me what the actual plan is, you see me as useful, and you see me as someone who can further your game, and we can further our games together. So I didn't really keep secrets. I played I guess no, the secret, I guess, was I wasn't clear about how close I was with certain people. But my whole thing was, let's get the information out there and see what we can do with it.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's also my relationships with other people. I mean, Aaron and I are super close, and people knew that. And people definitely took advantage of that target and tried to exploit it and tried to weaken us. But no one knew about the extent that Charlotte and I are friends. No one knew that Cam and I were working together and that we zoomed on TBD. So all of these relationships I was slowly building so that I could reap the benefits by the time that Erin went home. I knew that she was going home, and at some point, and so I wanted to be very smart about who I wanted to engage with and align with. And so once Erin was gone, I was able to reap the benefits of working with Charlotte, with working with Sophie, and working with Cam. So.
Greg, do you have a follow-up or clarifying question?
Yeah, I just had a clarification for something that Charlotte said. Can you give us an example of something that we all don't know about from your game?
Yeah, I mean, I think your vote is a very good example of that. So I was always voting to keep Jerry. It made no sense for me to get rid of him at that point in the game. Not only did I know that he had my back, but I very much knew that I was keeping Jaren in this game until I was ready to get rid of one of them. So I knew that I was voting you out no matter what that night, and I knew that I was the swing vote to be that fourth vote. But I wanted to see if I could get through that vote without drawing the line in the sand. That was my game this entire time. I worked with everybody and tried as hard as possible to always have an excuse and a way to get out of the vote without being clear that I had the blood on my hands. So for your vote, I knew that I wanted you out of this game. I think you are an incredibly formidable player. I don't think that anyone has ever given you the credit for not only the game you played during season 3, but your sequester win and then coming in and then just dominating the pre-merge. I have always been afraid of you, Gray, and whenever we are playing these games, I always will be afraid of you. I will never underestimate you. So I did not want you in this game, but I had started talking to Ben and I had started talking to Shannon, and I really wanted to play with both of them. And I wanted to figure out a way to flip on them without them realizing that they were comfortable with me flipping. And so I talked to them, and Shannon thinks that it is, sorry, Shannon, I see you laughing at me, but Shannon thinks that it was her idea to have one of us flip and, oh, who will it be? And I pretended like I was taking one for the team, but I had pitched that same plan to Ben like 3 hours before of, well, what if one of us flips? I don't know who it should be, but one of us could flip, get rid of Gray, but pretend that we're all on the same side and no one would know how close the three of us were. So I think that's an example of a move that no one really knew the extent of.
Thanks. Oh,
Hilly?
Yeah, I didn't know the extent of that whole vote, but I do want to say, and it is somewhere, I believe, on the social media, because I submitted a after banishment video, that I did know you were going to flip just based off the energy and the directness you were coming into my DMs. And I begged Cameron and Ben to wait till I was home to hop on chat to really talk to them before throwing into a group chat. I know it was a bigger thing and everyone was on it now, but at the time with no knowledge, I knew you were voting Gray and I knew Gray was going home that night. It was not a surprise. So I just want to say, people did know more than you think they knew.
I'm very glad that you brought that up. That is a very fair point. I would say that Hilly has been on my tail and was on my tail the entire post-merge. And I am really glad that you said that. You were the one who was the least trustworthy of me. And I was so conscious of that. And that's why things like the Ben vote were so important to my game, because I knew that you never fully trusted me and you always saw my game. And so for me, the way that I played was all about getting people's numbers away from them so that I always had the most numbers in my game, so that when people like Hilly were on my tail and saw that I was a threat and needed to be voted out, they literally could not get me out because I had more numbers in this game.
Okay, we're gonna go to Molly.
Hello, everyone, and happy Molly Days. This game is full of snakes and rats and more. We have Jerry, the snake, who knowingly went after prey and somehow slithered by banishments, even when he didn't have an idol. The snake is malleable, so it can cozy up to other animals and take their shape, speak their language. And then you have Charlotte, who turned into the rat and ran around like rats do, getting little bits of information and going to everyone with it. You start to trust the rat. You give the rat everything because the rat is good at getting things. And then the rat's gonna rat you out. But there's one more type of creature to introduce into this ecosystem, and that is the weasel. You really like the weasel. The weasel, look at him. He's so damn cute and smiley, and you want to keep him warm in the cold. You feel seen by the weasel. But like weasels do, they disappear. They say the weasel is the ghost of the animal kingdom. You build something with the weasel and then it goes back into its hole where it's comfortable, where it's with its season 3 animal family. All of our top 3 animals could easily beat me in any competition. You are slide puzzle queens, idle hunters, advantage kings, house of card wizards, Hanoi hotties, and you understand Slack better than I ever could. You are better than this game, better at this game than I am, and that's why you are here and I was purged. I do look forward to hearing all of your answers today. I am very much coming into this open-minded. So no matter what your play style is or your animal style, you are here because you were able to obtain information, and information is everything in this game. On the previous question, you alluded to it a little bit, but my question is, how in the know were you for the different banishments that you were a part of?
I'll go first. I was in the know for every single banishment that I went to. Not only did I know who was going home, I could have just sent all the votes to Kelsey myself. I knew where every single person was voting and I knew who was going home. I knew how I could protect myself. Like I truly knew every piece of information. And if that makes me a rat, then I am definitely a rat. But I genuinely believe that I played a rat game with like good heart, like good intentions. And I'm sure that I'm going to get some harder questions about this later, so I'll save some thoughts about it. But I will say, like, I never made any promises that I didn't keep. All I did was vote with people. And that was my sign of trust. I never said to someone, okay, we're final 2, we're final 4, we're final 6. I proved my loyalties, but I never made promises. And I don't think that there is a way to not backstab in this game. At the bare minimum, if you walk into the merge, there's 9 people in the merge. That means you're voting with 5 other people at the slimmest margin, but it's a final 3. So did you just lie to 2 people? Is that what that means? I don't think that's what that means. I played this game hard. I played this game well, but I never did anything gratuitous. I respect you calling me a rat. I'm fine with that. I will own my game as a rat game, but I don't think that it was a malicious game.
And just to be clear, Charlotte, like you were, it's impressive how you got information from everyone.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, Cam, you said in your opening statement that you wanted to work with everyone, but if you can't work with literally everyone, because if you do, you get voted out. I think that I am the proof of that statement being false. I worked with literally every single one of you and I did not get voted out. And Molly, I will say on a side note, on a personal note, you were an absolute delight to talk to and I loved our Slacks, and I'm sorry that I couldn't vote for you because I was always going to vote to keep Jerry in this game. But I think if you remember, I never made a promise to you. I never said to you, you've got my vote tonight, and then screwed you over. And I didn't do that with anyone.
Sorry, are we answering Shannon's question or are we going?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, it's just that Charlotte just said the statement, I literally never got voted out. And she did get voted out. I voted her out in 3rd. So that was all.
That's a great point. Thank you, Shannon, so much. No, wait, sorry. Can I say one thing to that? That is a great point. That's a fantastic point. You absolutely bested me in that. And I like fully respect that move. And as I said, like, I think that in order to win as a battle back player, you have to play a really incredible post-merge game. And I hope that you guys see the effort that I did in that post-merge game. But that is a very good point, Shannon. You did. And I did get voted out 3rd. And if that's like the reason why you guys don't like think that I deserve this win, I fully respect that.
I'll go next. Molly, it's been an honor to meet you and to talk to you on Slack. You bring incredible energy. I will say that I was left out of a few votes, but I always made sure to keep connections with Cam and Charlotte. They were my ears and eyes into the other side because everyone was targeting us. I wanted to weaken Cam and bring him closer to me by taking out his friends. And so I guess like in terms of specific votes, let me see. I will say that I was in the know for many of them, and I was very eager to build connections with people by saying, you can pitch my name to however many people you want, knowing that I had the idol and using that kind of information and leverage to build trust with people. So, yeah.
I think
Okay.
I was left out of 3 votes.
Oh, sorry.
First vote on TBD, the first vote after the merge, which I considered almost like a trust test. I was like, Charlotte's working with me, and I've set up this split so that Charlotte has the chance to either vote with me or vote against me. And if she votes against me, I'm curious to see, and Jerry, well, I don't know if you knew about the split. I set up this situation because I didn't want to play a game where I was only worried about the next vote. I wanted to play a game where I was worried about long term. So if Charlotte and Jerry chose to keep me at that point, that meant that this was something real. When Shannon went, I knew it was either her or me. At least that's based on the information that I was given. I didn't know if Charlotte and Jerry were able to pull Hilly and Sophie. I didn't totally understand the nature of y'all's relationship, but I wanted to say, hey, if this is real, I guess they'll keep me in. And if it's not real, Shannon and I made a plan where we could save ourselves. So I wasn't on the right side of the vote and I didn't have all the information, but I set myself up socially so that I was safe. And if I wasn't safe, then this alliance wasn't real and I wasn't gonna make it to the end anyway. So like vote me out early and then I can just chill.
Cool, thank you. And my follow-up is, did you know that Shannon was gonna get voted out that night?
I knew it was possible, but I didn't know for sure.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you, Molly. We're gonna go to Chris now.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello? Yes, okay. Don't really have like a long question, so I want to talk a little bit first. Charlotte, before we get to the jury, just like be ready, because the whole like pawn, like I had all the votes, I knew this, like it's just like a lot, and we knew you were doing that. I think people were surprised at how far you pushed it. So like just going forward, like doing the whole, like I knew every vote and this and that and the other thing, just like give us something a little bit more than that. Cam, take ownership for what you did. And I think that's what, like the connections you made, they were real, but you did cut them very quick. So like, if you were aware of that, I'm cool with it. Like go with it, but like own it and like take ownership for it. Jerry, Charlotte seems to be taking like strategy of all of this. So like, I need to see that like you knew what was going on too. And it wasn't just Charlotte. And like, you guys did a lot of people dirty, like do it dirty a little bit right now to each other. It's like time to do it. But my actual question, all I need to know is who you voted for on the purge vote, and from there we go forward.
I voted for Jerry to stay, and then I lied and I took credit for Molly's vote to keep Keith. And I told Keith that I would vote for him if he voted for Jerry, which got Jerry the 4th vote.
I voted for Molly. I promised her on Zoom. I didn't tell anyone that I had Sophie's vote. I didn't tell anyone that I had Charlotte's vote in order to waste people's tokens, to take advantage of people's advantages. I hear that people were kind of brokering those, so I wanted to know where those were going. And I was honest after the purge too. I said I voted for Molly because she's cool, she's great, she's got great energy. I wanted to keep her in the game because she was also one of my close allies, and I was building that relationship with her, so I wanted to keep her in the game.
I voted for Gray. The only pre-gaming that I did this season was with Gray, and I said, if we're both in this game, I'm going to do, and if I have the opportunity, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that both of us get to the merge. And when I saw that Gray was up for the vote, it ripped my heart into shreds. I knocked on everybody's door like this saddest little boy, and I was just like, what can we do to save my friend? I needed to rally votes behind Gray. And I felt terrible for the connections that I made with other people earlier on in the game, like Chris and Molly and Jody. I genuinely, I feel like I led y'all along on that day, but I tried to be open about it. I was like, I don't think Chris and Molly can both make it. Like, if you think you have the votes, like I can be, and if I was convinced that Gray wasn't gonna have the votes, I was open to voting for y'all, because then you would be one of my allies moving forward. I would have saved y'all. But Gray and I strategized all day long on how to save this. I talked to Hilly. Gray said, should I use my last Zoom token to message Carter? And I said, yes, you should do it. And like 10 minutes before the vote, Carter decided that he was in. And that's how Carter, Hilly, Gray, and I like had this like thing. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, I also want to say I also told Gray to Zoom Carter in case you're thinking, you know, that was and I think Gray would own up to that, that I also helped persuade her to do that. And so it was a mutual thing, I think, to get her comfortable enough to do that. But I'm just kind of confused, Cam, because you said you really thought out your game and logic, and like, why in the world would you bring Gray back and then the next vote knows she's going and not do much more to save her?
I didn't know that she was going. My biggest regret in this game was not listening to you on that vote.
Did you trust Charlotte on that vote?
I'm confused. I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
No. I don't think you knew. I'm just wondering, did you trust Charlotte on that vote? That's my follow-up, and then I'm done. Did you trust Charlotte that she was not going to vote out Gray?
I knew that Charlotte didn't want Aaron to go to the final, and I knew that it was possible that Charlotte could vote Aaron.
Okay.
I didn't know for sure.
So you knew it was possible she'd flip, I guess.
Yeah, and Gray and I talked about it, and we were like, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're willing to take the risk.
Got it. Thank you for clearing that up.
To that point, like to what Chris you said, and to that point, like, I'm very sorry if I implied with what I was saying that like in any way I saw you guys as pawns. I didn't see anybody as pawns. This is all stars. And I think, sorry, do you mind if is that okay? I just want to, because I appreciate your comment, and I'm glad.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I did not see anybody as pawns. The whole point is that I was terrified of all of you. I don't think that there is a single person who is sitting on the jury right now who didn't have the possibility to play a truly brutal game. My only comment that I said is that I was just trying to work like 3 votes ahead to make it so that I know that all of you guys were on my tail. But what I was trying to do is cut out people's legs from under them. This is a numbers game. And if I always had the most people on like who were going to vote with me, then then you guys, no matter if you were on my tail or not, you couldn't get the numbers to vote me out. That's all I'm saying. No one in this game, I don't see anyone in this game as a pawn.
I think you're doing, like, I love you at Banishment, so I think you're performing. I'm just getting you ready for the next part because, like, that just feels a little heavy. And, like, we know you did it. We know you, like, manipulated votes and stuff. So just, like, that's why I'm saying it. Like, just,
no, I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah. Okay. But good luck with the jury. The mini jury will be convening. So we're watching the rest of this. Our votes up for grabs, so.
Cool. Thank you, mini jury. We're now going to begin with Gray.
Hey, y'all. First of all, y'all should all be so proud of yourselves for making it. Love the season 3, that there's 3 of you guys. Very exciting. I'm going to ask each of you guys a different question tonight. And I feel like the theme kind of this season has been redemption arcs, character growth, unpacking your baggage from your previous season, and whether you decided to keep that baggage in your luggage and not unpack it, or if you decide to take it out and you put it in your drawers and you're airing it out and you're fixing things up. And I do feel like all 3 of y'all moved on from your season to create something new and to create a different type of game. And I think you should be extremely proud of that, all 3 of you. So I'm going to start with Jerry. And my question kind of revolves around, as every single banishment has revolved around, Jaren. So I wanted to know, as such a visible duo this season, and you went into the game probably knowing that you 2 were going to be targeted. And I want to know what the one move you made this season that you made just for yourself, not for you and Aaron, but only for yourself.
I guess we weren't on the starting team together. So I use that opportunity to distinguish my game. I use that opportunity to hustle. I was left out of that first vote, so I knew that I was in danger and I knew that I was playing from the bottom, but I do my best work when I'm playing from the bottom. So I found that hidden immunity idol. I kept it close. I hustled during that challenge. I found that immunity idol all by myself. I did that slider puzzle all by myself. And I found the other 2 all by myself. Like that's an amazing feat. Like I didn't need any help with those other 2. So for that first, when I was on that first team, I hustled so hard. I tried to, appeal to Jody. I tried to appeal to Shin, and I tried to appeal to Britt. I tried to appeal to all these different people. And I I took out Ryan for that next vote because I knew I couldn't work with him, and I knew that baggage was still tucked in the corner, and I knew it wasn't going to be aired out, so I had to cut him off. But I knew that I could work with any of these people. And so going into that banishment, that was the most visible move in this entire game. All teams saw me play that idol, so that put a huge target on my back. And from that, I didn't want to leave the banishment without decapitating people, without decapitating Britt, without exposing Jody and Shannon. So I wanted to, I played my pre-merge game with so much fire and with so much strength that I did that all by myself, and I'm very happy to own that game.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna go to Charlotte next. Congrats again for making it. I do want to say that I knew you were going to vote me out that day. I talked about gut feelings all season, not just like in banishments, but in my confessionals. And I just knew that day it was probably going to be me. And so my question kind of, I guess for you revolves around, for me, some of your moves this season felt like a little predictable based on season 3, obviously mainly my vote, but being aligned kind of with everyone or having your hand in like every pot. And so I want to know what you did this season that you felt like how your game evolved from season 3.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you asked that. I agree. I think I played a very similar game to the game I played my season. The biggest way that I attempted to evolve the game, honestly, is something that I think I'm going to probably be talking about for the next couple questions. And I'm eager to explain where my experience of it was coming from. But that is the way that I attempted to make this as clean as possible. The game that I naturally play is one where I am aligned with a lot of people. Also, coming into the merge, there were 4 people that I wanted to play with. I wanted to play with Ben, Hilly, Sophie, and Jerry. And immediately off the bat, they were on either sides, 2 and 2. And so I was trying to figure out how can I play with the 4 people that I want to play with and also get through all of this. And that meant me having to be in the middle because those 4 people were gunning for each other. But where I believe I evolved my game, and I am prepared to defend this over the next few questions, is I do not think that I complicated things on a personal level. I think that I was very, very, very strict about that with myself. Hilly, you and I talked about this after the first time that I voted against you, where you started talking to me about something emotional that had happened in my season, and I immediately dropped it and changed the conversation. I was very intentional about that. But Gray, I agree. I played a predictable game 100%. What I think I did a better job of this season is making sure in playing that predictable game, even though I know that all of you knew what I was doing and where my next votes were, I had done the legwork 3 votes prior to make it impossible for most people to do anything about it.
Got it. Thank you. Cam, I'm so proud of you and I love you and I'm just really, really freaking proud of you. My question is, I know you kind of alluded to in previous banishments and in your opening speech about how you felt like your social game evolved from season 3. So I want to know what about your social game evolved and how you think you did better this time around.
Yeah. So instead of making like a big lump of people, I made intense one-on-one connections. I spent a Zoom token on Shannon on the first day, and I was like, I want to work with you in this game. I want the 2 of us to get to the merge together. I worked with Britt on the clue, the first clue drop, because I think that it's like the most, I don't know if I've already said this, it's just a thing that I think is true. I'm going to say it again if I have. It's the most intimate thing you can do in this game is to work with someone on an advantage because it says that you're happy with them getting it or you getting it. And so I use that to solidify trust with Britt. This isn't like gameplay, but it was gameplay. Like Charlotte and I reconnected at the beginning and that was real. And we both have said, like, if that's the only thing we get out of All-Stars, like, then it's worth it. And then I reconnected with Ryan one-on-one. This is all one-on-one. I think that was what I realized was like, I need to make things a little more blurry this season and then be open to changing who I'm working with because I wasn't open to that, like as things go on. So when I joined the green team, I was like, Aaron, Jerry, I want to work with y'all. Y'all are 2 votes. I love y'all. We made an alliance. Aaron named it My Boys. It was super cute. I made an alliance with Molly, Chris, and Shannon. And I was just always trying to create more and more pathways forward, like just like branching outward, instead of on my season when things went the wrong way and I just like clammed up and was like mad. I didn't get mad this season. I got sad a few times, but I didn't get mad.
Sweet. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Hilly. Not Hilly, sorry, Gray. We're gonna go next to Carter.
Hello. Sorry.
Cody watching, tell Cody to turn it off.
My bad. Hello. Congratulations, you guys. I'm so proud of all of you. You truly have all played winning games in your own way. And no one will ever know the amount of work and thought and detail that you put into this game to get to where you are. And I truly hope that you are very proud of yourselves, regardless of what happens. So my question is, I feel like there's a lot of aspects of this game that are undervalued and not talked about as enough. The biggest one for me is luck. So part one of the question is, what do you feel was the luckiest break that you got in this game? And then part two of the question is there an undervalued part of this game, whether it be Slack communication or any like smaller thing that you feel like you excelled at that you've not gotten to talk about? And I will start with Jerry.
Yeah, okay, so for the first question, luckiest time, I would say playing my idol and then going straight into a swap, because that kind of opened the doors for me. You know, it was a highly visible move, and then it showed that since 5 people voted against me, it showed that I was open to alliances, that I was open to allegiances, and that I was willing to play, and that I came here to win this game. And so that was a very, very lucky moment for me. I guess in terms of an underrated aspect of this game, I am very good at details. I overthink things to the point where I obsess over them. So I downloaded all these Slack profiles and then I put them in Photoshop and then I overlaid all these different, translated all the ASL, translated all the Morse code, counted so many of those little friggin' heart things and the broom things. And so my attention to detail, I knew was necessary because I knew I needed to get as many advantages as I could so that I could stay in this game.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. I will go to Shar next.
I got lucky so many times in this game. It's actually insane. But I would say the most lucky that I think that I got was when Shannon came up with the idea to have Gray go home, because I had always known that I was going to vote with to keep Jerry. He was probably my number one person I trusted going into the merge. But when Shannon came up with that, I now had a way of getting through one more vote without making my alliances clear. And so that was far and away the luckiest break that I had in this game.
Awesome. And then the undervalued part of the game that you feel like you excelled at?
I mean, I'm shocked that I won 3 individual immunities. And I know for a lot of people, that's not an underrated part of the game. But if you watch season 3, for me to be the person at the end of this thing who won the most individual immunities, that feels so crazy. I won a physical endurance immunity. Like, that's cool for me. So I think that would be for my experience of it. I think that's an underrated part of the game. And I know that in addition to like a lot of you guys being on my tail and me trying to come up with contingency plans, me being in a situation where there were 3 different vote outs, especially at 6, which can often go to rocks, for me to have been in a situation where I couldn't get those votes on me, I think is another huge thing that I want to highlight in my game.
Awesome. Thank you. Cam?
I think the luckiest thing that happened to me in this game was not getting the first advantage and not getting the first idol. Because I told myself going into this that I was like, I'm not going to go for those. That defined my game the first time around. And I have to change. I have to rely on my relationships with people. I have to do this. I have to do that. And then the clue dropped, and I went right back into season 3 mode. And I was like, oh my god, I got to figure that. I got to do this. I solved that in like 30 minutes and I was beaten. So like props to Jerry for that. And when I learned that he had the idol, I was like, okay, moving forward, this is someone I want to work with because the two of us combined are possibly like the best at the type of clues they're doing this season. So I think a undervalued thing that I did, one is that I had my Slack presence offline because I didn't want people to know how much time I was spending talking to people. I didn't want people to know how much time I was spending just like obsessing over every possible scenario, even when I was wrong. Oops. And then another one is that I knew that the hidden channels existed, but I refused to join them because this season I knew, this season it seemed as if looking for idols was more like looking for idols in the CBS show. People can see you go off into the channel where the idol is, and that puts a huge target on you. So there was a night where Shannon and I literally just sat and watched the clue drop, and I was like, I'm not doing it. No way. That's going to put a huge target on me. I was like, threat level, go down. Yeah. Also, emojis are a strategy and emojis are a social game. And I uploaded so many of them and I love them all.
Yes, GIFs for mine in my season, so I appreciate that. Thank you guys. Great job and congratulations.
Thank you, Carter. You also look very handsome tonight. We're gonna go next to Aaron.
Oh my God, it is my dream come true because all three of you, well, not really Jerry, I think he just asked me about a question on the beach, but Charlotte and Cam freaking roasted me in my final banishment. I think Charlotte said, I'm not excited to vote for any of you tonight. I famously feel the opposite about this. I'm excited for all three of you because it's been such a fun season. But I just gotta, get in my shots where I can. So Cam, obviously my first question is for you. You have mentioned you've slayed the social game this season, Cam. So I must know, what is one thing you learned about every single person in our banishment tonight?
I love it. And I expected this and I didn't fully prepare for it.
Okay, great. Cool.
One thing that I learned or one thing that I appreciate, because both work.
I think it's learned. What did you learn about some other people? How did you connect with them? What is the fact you're taking? I think you kind of just asked for a fact about these people that you spent time with, and I'm just going to return the volley to you here, Cam.
Yeah, let's see if I can do it, honestly. I learned that Papa Kropst did Tai Chi with Ezra from season 2, and I was just like blown away by that. I also just on a gut emotional level, like the fact that he agreed to play this season shows how much love he has for Kelsey. And like when I think about that, I literally get emotional, and so I'm going to stop talking about it. What do I know? Jody reintroduced me to the mole, specifically the mole Belgium. And it's literally, it's maybe my new favorite show. Like I always pitched people The Genius is the greatest strategy game ever, but I don't know. Molly, I I don't want to say this one over Zoom, it's recorded. You told me that your boyfriend is irresponsible, but that you love him. And we bonded over that because I've dated younger guys too. And sometimes that happens. And if you don't vote for me because I said that, I totally get it. I get it.
Oh, irresponsible. He's not.
Chris, we talked about a lot of stuff. I'm obsessed with your dog, Lady. We talked about how we both kind of think that time is not real and that it's a made up thing. You opened my, you are so social and sociable that and you're so open to like alternative ideas about stuff. And I'm so like science programmer, blah, blah, blah. So it's like so fun to explore that world. Carter and I talk about Sequester. He and I talk about whether we think it's a good show or not. Like, I'm still on the fence about that. I think the nannies are kind of bad. Also, if Audrey ever watches this, I take it all back. Please cast me on season 4 of Sequester Live. Gray is a fucking star. Oops, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I've probably been doing it. Gray is a star. Gray is amazing at like most things in a way that makes me feel incompetent. And this is mostly a compliment instead of a fact. Gray's like boss is the person that I use for sample data at my job. His name is Ron Pope. Get into it. That's so weird.
Why would you put that on the internet? Now I have to scrub that. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Honestly, go check him out on Spotify or SoundCloud or whatever, right? Aaron, I don't know like where to start. You have such, I'm doing the compliments instead of the facts, but that's okay. I know that you're a nanny, you have 2 kids. I know that they take up a lot of your time. And sometimes you were focused on them instead of focused on the game. I know that you obviously care about them a lot. Anyway, moving on, I'm done. Ben, sorry. Ben, one of your favorite books, or one of my favorite books, and a book that you really enjoy is If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. And that's Calvino, I think. And his other book, Invisible Cities, is one of my favorite books too. I know that you care a lot about this game, and I know that you care a lot about like presenting yourself well at Banishment and like having fun with it, like finding the metaphors and like, okay, moving on. I'm just having fun. Shannon, I said this earlier to Charlotte and Jerry. I think that you are a candidate for the person who loves this game the most. You didn't get on. We both applied to season 2 and neither of us got on. And when you didn't get on, you created your own version of the game and built a community. And then you played in season 2 of that. And that's like the coolest thing on the planet. Like you were able to rouse that excitement from your own friend group. And I don't know if I could do that with my friend group. I'm like honored by that. Hilly, I think that we played kind of similarly, and I may be wrong about that, but you seem very like friendly and genuine. You have a dog named Hank that you go on hikes with. He's very cute. And the thing that I appreciate about you is that you are willing to put your foot down and tell people when they've crossed boundaries. And that's something that I struggle with. And when you said that you thought that I had the confidence that you lacked, I thought that was really interesting because I thought that you had the confidence that I lacked. So I don't know. Sophie, you're the person that I talked to the least for sure. And I made sure that literally everybody knew that. And that was like my social strategy with you. I had to do something different with everyone. So I learned recently that you're friends with the Cook sisters. Like, that's pretty cool. I also know that you have this like, what's the word? Like resolute, like sense of like self. You seem very like steadfast and straightforward. And like you, from what I heard, you were always just like, here's who I'm aligned with, who's who I'm voting for. And if it changed, I always knew where you were in the game in a way that I respected. And like, you proved that you can play this game without being on Slack all the time. I think that honestly is the most amazing thing, because I was on Slack literally all the time at the risk of my job and my sanity, etc. And you knew the moves to make without having to be scrambling and freaking out. I don't know, that was fun. I still think it's a good question, Aaron. I hope you didn't feel too roasted by it.
Not at all, Kim. And I'll say it was worth it just to ask it back to you in this moment. Felt amazing. Oh God, that was gorgeous. Charlotte, I think my question for you, it's really hard because, I think that we've touched on this a little bit. I think Cam needs to touch on some own some moves he made. Charlotte, I think you are in a tricky spot because when you make a deal with everyone feels a little fucked up by it, for lack of a better phrase. I'd say that I kind of entered jury almost on your team compared to everyone else because I just felt like maybe I had a better understanding of the type of game you were playing. But I guess my question for you is, who do you think you were most honest with in this game? And my other question, just out of curiosity, is just like when you were re-entering the game, like who did you want to be sitting next to, like upon re-entering this game?
Okay. I'm going to start with the second question, and then I might need you to re-ask me the first question.
And I will, sure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So who did I want to sit next to? No, none of you. Like coming into this, there was not a single person that I would feel great sitting next to. I think you all are just amazing players. Like, why would I want to sit next to anybody? Why? So I guess you could ask, like, why am I sitting next to Jerry and Cam maybe? And I think that my answer actually like owes an apology to you for my question to you from your season. In your season, I came at you for sure. I think with a smile and a glint, but in my eye,
always.
But I came at you and I said, I was disappointed that I thought that you had finally made a move in cutting Jerry. And then I found out that you were in on it together. And I was so steadfast at that. I kept you and Jerry in this game because you guys were great shields, I felt, to the point where Hilly, I think, out of banishment, called it out and said, everyone's looking over there and no one is looking at the threat who is the shield, who's using you guys as a shield. I assume you were referencing me. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I kept you guys in and I was always planning to cut Jerry at 6. I had the numbers. He wasn't going to play his idol. We were going to cut him. And then I thought about it and I started to cry in my apartment and I couldn't do it. I know that a lot of you think that I played a heartless game or a disloyal game, but I played a very loyal game to, I think, 2.5 people. The only person that I feel genuinely like I fucked over and I genuinely feel shitty about it is Sophie. And Sophie, I hope you ask me a question about it so we can talk about it one-on-one. But did I answer your question? Who do I want to sit next to? None of you guys. You guys are formidable. This is not a bullshit all-stars. This is a true all-stars.
Sure.
Who are those 2.5 people that you
Jerry, Cam, and I'm saying half for Sophie because I genuinely was like fully on board with our partnership, Sophie. Like, I can address this now. It answers the first half of your question. The only person I gave every single piece of information to that I learned was Sophie. We would have these data dumps at the beginning of the morning and the end of the day where I literally was like, Soph, I know you're at work, but here's everything that I learned this morning. Here's who went for the idol. Here's where I think it is. Here is where these advantages are. I shared everything with her, and there is not a single person on this game that I enjoyed playing with as much as I enjoyed playing with Sophie. Our brains think the same way, and I honestly believe that if Sophie hadn't played in season 1 and therefore like had a different relationship with what this game was going to be, she would have, I think, cut me, or maybe not. Maybe she would have been fully loyal, but I think she'd be sitting at the end, and I think she would be winning this game. I think she played an incredible game and has an incredible mind for the game. That being said, on the day that we were voting Sophie, Hilly, you were the person who was we were thinking about pondering going home that day. You obviously are also a big threat in this game, and you had a great game as well. I don't think anyone would want to sit next to you either. But we were looking at the options, and Sophie, I was under the impression from the conversation that we had that you knew that I was getting votes that night. And we were kind of like, well, we'll see what happens. Like, if Jerry plays an idol, sorry, you're going home. And if not, you're not. And to me, that felt like we were very politely dissolving our partnership because we didn't put our heads together and say, all right, let's get the votes on Hilly. Let's do something together. It felt like you were sort of like, it's either Jerry or Shar, and this is what it is. So for me, that felt like, all right, good luck, wish you the best. And that's when I felt comfortable with cutting Sophie. And it was, in my mind, the way that I had worked so hard, and this was how I was going to guarantee my way in the final 3. And I honestly believe it's the only move in this game that I don't stand behind. I think it was a bad move, and I'm sorry that I did it.
Okay, I think my other question was, who have you been most honest with in this game? Is that?
That was Sophie. That's what I just was saying.
That's a confirmed answer. Okay. I feel like that was really the vibe of that question. Thank you so much, Shar. You did an amazing job, and same to you, Cam. Sorry I didn't say that after your incredible compliments of all of us. You've also done an amazing job. last but certainly not least, my freaking man, Jerry, dude. It was really hard to come up with a question for you. Maybe it's just because like I love you so much and I see how hard you worked in the game you've played. So I feel like I don't have like a ton of questions. But I guess do you feel like there's a moment you totally like mucked it up and like then you were playing catch up from there? I mean, like I feel like the Charlotte vote is like an easy answer. Is there anything else that you feel like you messed up and then you were patching those holes?
I think I preemptively knew that I zoomed with Carter on the night that he was voted out, and that was purely strategic. He called me slippery once he left, but that was purely strategic, and that was to ensure that my alliance got through. And so I wanted to zoom with him to catch him in the lie. He said he was targeting Charlotte. He said he was targeting both of us, and I wanted to see where his target actually was. So I zoomed with him in case he won that immunity. I wanted to be able to feed him a name, and I wanted him to tell me a name and take the target off my back and your back. And so that was a kind of preemptive move in case things got sticky and in case things got messy. Does that answer your question?
I guess I was wondering like where I think that like a lot of people see your like, yeah, you're like immunity plays like or like successful advantages, you know. And I think like it's people like already are giving you like a lot of credit in those areas. And I think this is another just a tip from someone who's been to banishment. All of you have to kiss ass a little bit. Like you really do. You got to kiss a little ass. I wouldn't say don't butter us up. I would say just like respect that everyone, when you told someone a name, someone else was also like thinking about that name in the back of their head too. So I think like that's just kind of a general thought I had. Sorry, I've finished my drink. This mug, you know, is for ambiance, but of course it had a very real cocktail inside. But yeah, I guess I was asking if you messed up, but if there's no answers for where you messed up, then.
Carter, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. He definitely got information out of me, but I was the one that initiated the Zoom and not Jerry. Just to be clear.
Can I speak to that as well? Is that possible?
Please.
Sure.
My question. I say yes.
So I know that there's a narrative around like the ethics of the way that I played this game potentially. And I, again, assume that I will be getting some questions about that and I'm looking forward to address them. But in terms of like the ways that I wanted to make sure that I played, I never went on a single Zoom with a single person that I was then going to vote for. I did not do that. Even if people asked me, I said, let's do it tomorrow. I was supposed to do a Zoom with Gray and Cam to solidify something. And I said, let's do it tomorrow. Ben, when the vote was likely going to be you after the Shannon vote, I made sure I came to you. We talked very honestly. You were very upset with me. I never bullshitted you. I never said you were safe. I very directly said to you, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep you in the loop. Carter, similarly, we said that we were going to try and have each other's backs. And we said that if we heard each other's names, we were going to be very honest about it. I told you that you were going into banishment. I was the only one that gave you the respect of telling you that you were going home that night. And I gave you a chance to fight and have a final word at banishment instead of getting blindsided. So I'm glad that you brought up this idea of like people going on Zooms. I was a part of a Zoom where Jerry was going to go home that night and they went on this Zoom to where everyone was voting for Jerry. And I was the only person who had gone on a Zoom with Jerry prior to that and said, hey, just so you know, the vote is you tonight. We're doing this Zoom and they are going to like put salt in the wound. And I didn't play that way. And so I understand that people think that I might have blurred lines or I'm a rat, but I had a very, very strong code of ethics that I kept with.
Yes, Sophie?
I just want to bring up that you said until the end you played 100% honest game with me, and yet you told me that you were going for Jerry and that was a call that we were going to do, and now you're saying that you went behind and told him that he was the one and dissolved that plan that we had. Is that correct?
I believe so. Is this the vote that you went out or the vote that?
No, that we were trying to go for Jerry. And
yeah, and you said to me, we had a conversation and you said to me very directly, I think we should Zoom with him. What do you think? Is that, and you said, call me out if you think that's bad. And I said to you, I really don't want to do that. That doesn't make me feel good. I think that that's too far. And you said, I appreciate you calling me out on that.
Okay. I definitely won't go back into the Zoom chats, but it was, let's take it by ear and see how he's feeling in the afternoon. And also you didn't tell me later in the day that we were going for him. So I'm just questioning, did you tell me, as you said earlier, that you were 100% honest with me the whole time, but then actually that vote, we weren't on the same page?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Erin. We're gonna go to Shannon next.
Hi, y'all. First of all, I just want to say congratulations. Like, all of you took very different paths to be there, but you are all there in the final 3. And like, I know you're getting roasted tonight, but the simple fact is you are there and we are not, and we're just like mad about it. So, you know, it's gonna be fine. A lot of people told me in this game that they respect my honesty. And so I'm going to bring that into my comments and questions tonight and just try to be very honest and straightforward with you guys with where I'm at. Charlotte, I'm going to start with you. And before I say anything, it's like very, very important to me that you know that I adore you as a human. And I think you are wonderful. And I like want to be friends with you after this. So like anything I say is strictly about your gameplay. Is that, are we okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I do want to be straightforward in telling you that like you do not have my vote tonight. And I'm just going to tell you that, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's simply mostly because I did vote you out of this game. You did get voted out, and managed the edge of extinction allowed you to essentially just like skip like 5 banishments. And I am fully aware that that's a game design. And this is like my personal feelings about the edge, but it's hard for me to vote for someone who got voted out while sitting next to 2 people who did not. And everyone can feel about that the way that they want, but that's sort of where I'm at with it. And I do want you to know that I believe that when you came back, you played phenomenally with the hand that you were dealt. I believe that you did everything that you needed to do. Some of it, I do think the jury feels like was a little bit manipulative, but this is a game and that's what it is. And I'm still impressed with it. But yeah, I don't have a question for you, and I just wanted to tell you that.
Cool, thank you. I'm really glad you brought that up. The first thing I want to say is thank you for saying that. And in most cases, I agree with you that I think that when the person comes back, this is a game of survivor. Like, do you really deserve to win if you didn't survive? The only problem with that is that I'm sitting next to 2 people who also did not go to a single banishment in the swap. They were on the same side. So for them to argue that they survived more vote outs than I did, they didn't. They went to 1 vote out in which Jerry played an idol and got someone out. Cam was on the wrong side of the vote. So
yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's more like they won the challenges to avoid that, and you got voted out of the game. That's like where I'm at with it. I'm sorry. But I hear what you're saying.
In terms of your comment about people thinking I played a manipulative game, 100% I played a manipulative game. That is what this is. This is a social strategy game. And I feel like you of all people who love this game would respect that and understand that. And you're saying that I played a phenomenal game, and I appreciate that. I am owning that I played a manipulative game. I think that that's how you play a good game in this game, personally. And if that's not how you guys feel, that's fine. I think that like, you yourself just said as well, like you think I'm a good person, you want to be my friend after this. So if you guys have all the information that I'm a good person, you think I have a good heart, and I played a very good game, I respect that you're not going to give me your vote. That's totally fine, Shannon, and I appreciate you leveling with me, but I hope you came in tonight like with some element of an open mind and are listening to what I'm saying, because I do think I have a really compelling argument, including and owning the mistakes that I made and the fact that I got voted out and the macro level picture of what this looks like.
Sure, yeah. Okay, Jerry. Jerry, I'm going to admit to you right now that I am absolutely in awe of the game that you played. It's unbelievable to me that you're sitting here tonight. I tried to vote you out, I don't know, probably 4 times, and it never worked. And you have an incredible resume to the point where like I'm like baffled by it, to be honest with you. I cannot believe that these people did not vote you out. Like, after having successful idol plays, there were votes that you were vulnerable at, and people did not take the shot. And that is just, it's one of the most amazing games I've ever seen. And I want you to know that. I genuinely feel that way. I know that we were never on the same side, but it's because I was like so determined to get you out because I knew that you were going to win. That's the truth. And I was like, this guy, he cannot make it to the end. He's going to win. And I adore you as a person. And I hope we're friends after this, even though I've tried to vote you out so many times. And I don't have a question for you either, because I don't think there's anything you can say that would make me more impressed with your game, to be honest. Like, that's just where I'm at with it. And so, unless you want to say anything, I have a couple of questions for Cam.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, it's really been an honor. Like Cam said, like hearing about you making your own game, about you hosting, about you producing, and about you just having so much drive and passion for this game is just so exciting to hear. And, you know, I Zoomed with you to try and level with you at one point, and I tried to, you know, become your friend because I thought you were really cool. And I thought she's a physical beast. She's smart. She's savvy. She gets advantages. And so I really was down and eager to play with you. And I'm sorry that didn't work out.
I'm sorry I was so threatened by you. Okay, I have 2 questions for Cam, and I hope that's allowed because I didn't really ask anybody else questions. The first one's a little spontaneous after tonight's tribal. And this is a personal question, and then I have a game question for you. My personal question is, like, where did our relationship, like, rank for you? Because for me, it was very real. And I told you at one point that, like, I would go to the end with you and lose and be happy with that. And, like, I meant that. And I know that you have other relationships, and I'm not gonna like dock you tonight for that. Like, that's the game, but I just like want to know.
Yeah, that was super real. I think I told Ben, I was like, Shannon was my number one. Like, I mean, Gray popped in, and that's tricky because of like personal life and game life. But when I Zoomed you on Red, I was like, you have such a passion for this game. I think you're so cool. Like, I want to work with you and I want to make this happen. And when I said that my like dream final 3 was you, Gray, and me, I meant that. Yeah, so it was real. It was game, but it was also real.
Okay, I appreciate that. Because yeah, I felt like we formed a very true friendship too, and I did really love playing with you. That being said, you don't automatically have my vote tonight. I want to vote for you so bad, like so badly. I want to vote for you, but you brought Jerry here, who I'm having the hardest time because his game is undeniable, and I need you to tell me right now. I need you to walk me through the Ben vote, the Sophie vote, and your decision to take Jerry to the end, and like make me understand it. And if you can do that, I will probably vote for you tonight. But like currently I'm gonna vote for Jerry. Like, this is it. I need you to convince me. Please, please, Cam.
I think so it's a few things. For me, this community is so important, and there is an active like alumni community. There are people playing this game who are in it and people who are playing this game who aren't, but everybody who's played this game, I believe, has been invited. I wanted the winner of this season to be somebody who is active and engaged, somebody who's down to hang out, somebody who loves this game as much as I do. And that's a big part of why the final 3 is what it is. And I know that that's like a choice that I made. And honestly, my argument in general is that if you want me to win and you think that I played a good enough game to get here, then the fact that I could have cut Jerry off and I could have cut Charlotte off and I chose not to is a move. It's all a move. For the Ben vote, Ben Zoomed me after you went, and he proposed that we work together, presumably with Hilly. And I was like, these folks don't talk to me that much. How can I trust that these are people who actually want to bring me to the final, unless they want to bring me as a goat. And I want to prove that I'm more than just a goat, that I could have gone with Ben and Hilly, but I chose not to. And that was a personal choice and a game choice in my eyes. I won those last two challenges. Like, I could have steered in multiple directions. I could have asked Hilly and Sophie to vote out Charlotte. That would have made the most sense on a game level, but I chose not to for personal reasons. And so, like, I think it's just like important to acknowledge that I made a choice, and you can disagree with that. But yeah, it's just like, it's a choice that I made. I think one thing that I'm really proud of in this game, it was when I Zoomed with Ben and Hilly right before the vote. And I was like, I need these folks to understand that I'm playing harder than I'm letting on, because I'm gonna like lie to their faces right now. And I don't know if that read, or I don't know if I got away with it or what, but I was just like, this is my chance to like make a move. And I don't know if I could beat Ben in the final. Ben is incredibly charismatic. I think that you and Ben were very close. I know that Ben and Hilly were very close. I know that the mini jury is stacked with people who love Ben. Sophie and Ben are like literally related. I can't beat Ben in the final. So if I'm going to choose between Jerry and Ben, I'm going to get rid of Ben. Sorry, Ben. And I'm going to keep Jerry, because it's easy to say that Jerry is here because of the idols that he got. And that's like the first shot I've taken at anybody this whole time. Sorry, Jerry. But if you're telling me to fight for my vote, then I'm going to take the shot. Jerry's here because of that, and because of the connections that the three of us made.
Can I say something, or two
Sure.
things? First of all, I admit we didn't talk a lot, but you also never initiated talking to me much. So I just want to point out it's a two-way street. Second of all, you know, you mentioned you chose to be next to Jerry and Charlotte, but technically you chose for them to battle it out in a puzzle. I'm curious, who did you think?
Wait, Hilly, he hadn't made a decision yet. He did not choose Jerry and Charlotte to go head to head.
Well, they were proposing that, so I'm curious if they had gone head to head.
They both wanted to go against you in the puzzle.
Okay.
They wanted to add that to their resume, because who doesn't want more items on their resume, I guess.
I guess what I meant to get at, I rephrased it wrong, was which one of the two were you thinking you were going to keep out of those two? Or who are you going to send to puzzle? If that's a better way to phrase it?
If I was going to choose, I was going to choose Charlotte.
To puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I say one thing also? Because Shannon, you said that I played a manipulative game, and I respect that. But Cam just admitted that he took a Zoom with Ben and Hilly 10 minutes before a vote in which he knew he wasn't voting their way. Why am I seen as manipulative and Cam isn't? Furthermore, you said that Jerry played an absolutely fantastic game, an incredible game. He did play an incredible game, but he played correct idol plays, and he was able to hold on to his idol and not play them on votes, because I told him when the votes were going for him and when the votes weren't.
Yeah,
I know I'm next, but I've been brought into a few of these things, and we'll get into that a little bit, Charlotte. For the record, that day when Cam played me, I felt was an incredible strategic day from Cam, and I never felt manipulated. I felt like it was great game strategery and not personal manipulation. And I think as we're answering these next few questions, we should really have some introspection about what is strategic gameplay and what is manipulation. And sure, manipulation is allowed, but there is a difference there. So I'm not necessarily voting for Cam. I know,
love Ben.
but I wanted to say for that one thing that feather in the cap for Cam, I think, for how he played that whole day. So he gets nothing but kudos from me for that. The one thing I will say though, Cam, is for some of us who were season one and may not have been as active in the QI community of late, it was a lot to do 30 days of season one and then 30 days of season two, and then be fully invested in season three and be on our phones and during the pandemic and all of that. So just some allowance for the fact that a lot of us do love this community, and that's the reason we're still here. If we were season 1 and didn't love the community, we wouldn't have been playing All-Stars, and we care so deeply about it. And just because we're not on the Slack every day at this point, I don't think is fair to say, you know, the people who care about the community, and sort of, you know, the way that was phrased could have come across to some season oneers as a little bit of a dig. And I know you didn't mean it that way, but I just wanted to represent, you know, our contingent back then.
And to respond to Charlotte, just to like close it out, I said I felt like the jury maybe was feeling that way, but to be clear, like the reason I'm not voting for you tonight is not because of that. I do think the back half of your game was very strong. The reason is the edge, and that you did get voted out. And again, like I know that that's a game mechanic and people feel differently about it. And for me, it just like, I can't get past it. Like your back half of the game doesn't make up for it for me. And that's just like where I'm at when you're sitting next to two people who were here the whole time. And if people like don't like this decision that I'm making and want to fight for the edge, like everyone can make their own decision about it, but that's mainly why.
Okay, gonna move on to Ben.
Okay, I'm back. Firstly, and I know I had my preamble there, you guys are way better at the game than me. Much props. I think Molly said something like that earlier, but truly incredible, impressive gameplay from all three of you on so many levels. None of you skated by, none of you fell into this. You all deserve to be proud of yourselves. And I just wanted to say that like, it's a huge accomplishment. And whatever happens tonight, I want to echo a sentiment on the jury that like, we are all so incredibly impressed. Cam and Jerry, I'm going to get to you in a second. I have the same question. Charlotte, I'm going to dig down a little bit on something that I feel like we've been getting both sides from you tonight. And I need a little bit of further talk and some real heart. I think I play the game with a lot of heart. I think you all know that. And I want to see that on display tonight. Char, you are indisputably a savant at this game. Like, it is incredibly impressive how you manage all of the relationships while always seeming to hold the upper hand, both in information and in loyalty. I don't know how that is possible. And then to pair that with all of those wins, the blowout in the battle back, the book challenge, a few of the others, that is just an unbelievable resume, and you played an unbelievable game. We've touched on this a little bit earlier, and there is a but here. And I do speak for multiple people on the jury. Some have already spoken, others may be yet to speak. When I say that many of us felt manipulated by you throughout the game, not just strategically, but also emotionally. You told me at one point that you didn't like the perception of you in season 3. You told me you didn't want to play that type of game. You told me you wanted to play a moral game. You told me this game was eating you up inside at times and you needed to take a step back. And clearly that statement was either gameplay, and if so, okay, or something changed and you couldn't not play that type of game. So how intentional were you about your manipulation? And did you ever actually intend to change your game and play an ethical, moral game? Or was that all smoke and mirrors for those of us who may be inclined to have a little bit more emotionality about the game?
I'm really glad that you're bringing this up. I want to engage with you about this because I don't agree with what you're saying. We don't define manipulation the same way. And I'm glad you're bringing it up, and I'm glad we're talking about it. And I want to meet you in the middle of this conversation. And it might be more of a dialogue than a question and an answer, if that's something that you feel comfortable with. Because I would love to know, like, for you, where manipulation is. Like, the way that I very, very intentionally changed the game that I played from season 3 to now is that I didn't talk about anybody's personal lives. You brought up your wife. There are things that I want to talk to you about with you and Emily. And I literally said to you, I really want to have this conversation. Let's schedule it for after game. And you said, great, 8 a.m. Monday, right? So those were things where I really was making an intentional delineation choice. If you're talking about, I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the night that Aaron went home and I talked about how I felt really emotional about that. Is that the time you're talking about? Where we talked about
that was one of the times.
Yeah. So I think that there has to be room for like human moments in this game personally. And if that gets seen as gameplay, then that's my bad. And I think that there's like, as I said in my opening statement, I tried very hard. And if I came up short in those moments, I apologize and I own that. But yeah, like there are times that I was very emotional during this game. There are times where I was torn up by this game. It is a very hard game. And I think that like it chips away at you, and it certainly chips away at me. Something that I think not everybody knows is that I almost dropped out of the battle back. Sorry, this is also not meant to be emotional manipulation. I am a sensitive person. I'm very sorry. I almost dropped out of the battle back because I wasn't sure I wanted to get back into this game. And every single one of my friends told me to not play this game again. And I'm really glad I did because I'm really proud of myself. But I don't know, like, I think most of you know me and you know that I'm a good person and you know that I'm a loving person, right? And I think both of the people, I'm really sorry. Both of the people who are sitting up next to me, despite being my competitors, would vouch for me as a person and vouch for my heart in this. So for you to question whether or not I played with heart, I just adamantly disagree with that. I tried really hard after my season to learn from the mistakes because I came in and I was excited to meet people. And you said I forget what you said. I appreciate the compliments, but you said I played a wonderful game and I have a great strategic brain. And I love this game and I want to respect that strategic game. I don't know how I do all of the things that I do either. It happens. Like and I'm not trying to not take responsibility. I take responsibility for every single game move. But there is something about the way that I grew up and I feel like it's a Slumdog Millionaire situation. When I'm in this game, I just know what to do. And I played, I think, a very, very strong game. But I tried really, really hard to always keep things clean. And I think, it's hard to say that like there has to be moments for that. Like there has to be moments for me to reach out to someone and say, hey, like tonight didn't go your way and I'm sorry. And game aside, like let's just have a human moment. And if that is emotional manipulation, then I will own that because the way that for me, I'm not going to let this game beat me. Jerry and I used to talk about this a lot. The real way that you win this game is you like don't leave without the same friends that you came in with. And we talked about how this game like cuts you to your bone. And this game I think does. I'm so proud of what I did. I own every single move that I made, but I really don't think that I manipulated anybody emotionally. I think I just came in as who I am and tried really, really hard. And I believe that I know that you all were on my tail and I'm not undermining any of you. I'm just saying that I was paranoid and afraid of all of your gameplay. So I took the shots before you had the chance to. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that I have like a very strong ethical code and I'm leaving this game feeling like pretty clean and pretty okay with what I did.
So I appreciate what you said, and there's a line in there that I sort of want to pick out, and that was that maybe your definition from manipulation is different from others, and a huge part of this game is jury management, and a huge part of that is as you are playing with people, understanding what feels like something to them, and for me, getting personal with people, like when Cam and I talked about plenty of stuff the day he voted me out. And that was one part of the conversation. And then there were other parts of the conversation. And the weaving of the emotional and some of the strategy, I'm just being honest, is where things got a little bit hard. And I'm curious if you ever thought about how things, not your definition of manipulation, but if you ever tried to think about how other people might perceive it, especially after season 3, when you were told some things and then didn't necessarily change those.
I think that I absolutely changed those, Ben. I will not argue with you on that. I will die on this hill. All right. I absolutely changed those. I was very strict and I would love to hear your examples because I feel that I dropped my guard with you one time, which was the night that Aaron went home. And I came to you and I was very emotional. And I realized that I wasn't there for you as a friend because I know that that was a tough night for you as well. And I apologize for you. I apologize the next day for that. Short of that, I do not think that I did that with any of you. And I would love to hear if I did, like genuinely, like give me an example, please, because there is this narrative that I did this thing to all of you, and I don't know what you're talking about.
So if the jury wants me to say, because I don't want this to be about me and I don't want to drag you, Sharp, because I respect the game you played, but I could give from my perspective if it's helpful to the jury. Otherwise, I don't want to get this into a...
I would love that, please. I don't feel like it's a drag.
Okay. And again, nothing but respect, and I'm just trying to get, on the same page here. Very early on in the game, you told me that you didn't want to manipulate in the way you did your first season. You told me you felt bad, emotionally hurt at the way you were judged in season 3. You've told me not just Erin's Night, but multiple times how hard All-Stars was for you and how much you struggled balancing wanting to be a good person and wanting to be a strategic person. And this all on the top of, you came to me as soon, and this was great gameplay. You came to me as soon as you won the battle back, and I found you did this with a lot of people, great gameplay, and said, you're the one person I've always wanted to play with, and talk about outside the game.
There are 3 people that I did that with, and I played with all 3 of you for as long as I could.
Yeah. I don't think we should get into like this back and forth. I was just looking for some openness, and I think we got that. And we can continue to talk after the game if you'd like. But it's not about hard feelings right now. I was just trying to understand a little more, because earlier in the night I felt like
the way that I played in season 3 that got complicated for me was that I was having the very specific situation that happened that I was referencing is I had very personal conversations with people about our lives. And then when it was time to go into votes, they felt burned by the way that I played because we had these very honest conversations. So the way that I evolved my game and the way that I tried to make things very kosher was that I did not talk about my personal life or anybody else's personal life. The rest of it to me is gameplay. And so for you to say that that's emotional manipulation, I just don't see how that crosses a line when we're literally playing a social strategy game. The point of this game is that you come in, you make bonds with people, and then you screw them over so that you can be one of the 3 people at the final. And I genuinely don't think that that is a problem. Chris?
I just, for the sake of moving forward, think if someone is explaining that they feel that there was an emotional manipulation, we just kind of want you to own it a little more from our perspective and tell us that that's not what it is. So just like moving forward.
You want me to own it and say that that isn't what it is, or own it and say that is what it is?
Well, like that someone's perception, what they're saying is that, like, be a little bit more.
But I like
what we're saying.
I've apologized 15 times tonight. I am very sorry for my role in that. I am very sorry, but my intention was never to emotionally manipulate. It was the top thing on my list was that I was trying so hard to grow my game and not do that again because I made that mistake my season. And I personally think, Ben, if there is no room for 2 people to have a human moment in this game, then I think that that really sucks. Carter.
Chris, I appreciate your question. Sorry, Carter, go.
Yeah, sorry, damn it. I just want to say, I think that it speaks to Charlotte's game that we all felt really close to her and that she was able to form bonds. And like, I did feel betrayed by her after the gray vote, but she brought up like she never promised me. She fulfilled her promises to me. And because like, I felt closer to her, that's on me, that's not on her. And I think it's like the inverse of how Jerry was for me. Like, I didn't necessarily trust him before a vote, but after a vote, he would come to me and be like, hey, it's all water under the bridge. I feel good with you. I think it's the inverse for Char, where you feel good with her before a vote and less so after the vote. But I think they're both valid. And not saying that this is the case, but I do want to think about how gender bias affects this game, because I was lied to by all 3 of these people. I know that I was out early, so I didn't have as many lies, but I think it's important to think about.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but I was trying to say that with commenting about some of the moves that Cam made versus the moves that I made. And I don't want to use that as an excuse or turn anybody off, but I do think that that is a factor here. I think that when I make moves it's seen as much worse than when other people did it, and people felt that I was more manipulative. I played a very similar game, in my opinion, to the game that Jody plays, I think. I think that Jody got a lot of accolades for some of the moves that he made of playing in the middle and flipping on people. And I am getting absolutely roasted tonight, which I respect. Like, come at me. I am happy to field these. I armored up for this. I prepared for this. But I do genuinely believe that you guys need to think about, like, if there is a little bit of that happening, because I think Cam and I made similar moves. Cam knew when his greatest ally was going home, and let, man, there was a chance. You knew that there was a chance that that was happening, but that's not a problem. Cam went on this Zoom and lied to people, and that's not a problem. And I respect the hell out of Cam's game, and I'm glad that you guys are giving credit to a great game that he played. I just don't understand how mine is manipulative and his is gameplay.
I think we should move on. Sorry, go on, Aaron.
I agree that we should move on. I think Charlotte is making a super strong point. I think that women have the ability to emotionally connect with people beyond any man's wildest dreams and capabilities. And I think that's just like fundamentally survival as a woman. You have to socially connect with people to move forward and build connections. And I think I do see Charlotte's game for what it is. So I am here to vouch on her behalf. I don't think she was trying to do anyone wrong by this. I think mostly, like, we just have to understand that some people are going to chat to you the moment until you're voted out. And some people, which is I think more Charlotte style, while Cam is going to stop talking to you at 3 p.m. that day because he's writing your name down. And that's just what it is, isn't it? Like, I think Charlotte will, maybe she led you to your grave and then she pushed you in. Cam dug the grave earlier and he was just letting someone else push you in at the end. It's like,
But I never made a single promise that I did not fulfill.
Absolutely, Char. I hear you, girl.
Thank you.
Well said, Aaron. Well said.
Ben, did you have any last?
Well, I had a question for Jerry and Cam. It's a short one. I didn't intend to go down that road. I apologize for that. Jerry and Cam, something you talked about earlier, which I think is interesting and want to hear about a little more. The idea that Jerry, you were always a target. Cam, the idea that you never had your name written down. You both put that as feathers in your cap. And I would love you to just expand a little bit more on which is harder, to either always be a target and avoid going home, or to play a game that isn't a GOAT game, but allows you to never have your name written down. So Jerry, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, on season 3, I didn't see my name written down until the merge. I got through that game without ever seeing my name, or most of the time I didn't see my name. And so it was a drastic shift to come to All-Stars and then have this immense target on my back. So I'd like to say that I've played both games, and both are tough, and both are really, really hard. I guess this was even more tough because seeing your name written down doesn't make you feel easy. It doesn't. I mean, like, it's scary seeing your name written down, and I would say that was the harder game. What was the other part of your question? Is there more?
No, just why it's harder to be always a target than to never have your name written down and yet not be seen as a GOAT. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting how I played this game because I always saw my name written down at most banishments I went to. So I guess I used that as much of an angle as I could to pull people in, to make relationships. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the game I played.
Cam?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why people are begging me to explain my game tonight, like literally, is proof of why it's so hard to play the game that I played. Before the merge, and like pre-merge is ignored a lot in these games, I made really intense personal connections with people, but I always kept it like slightly different. And that's really important because, like, as we hit the merge, Aaron called me out and said, Cam's in a really good spot. And it was true. I had like 7 friends at that point. I'm choosing to call them friends. Hilly, Carter, and Gray and I bonded over the experience of the purge and saving Gray. And I was ready to like go all in on Carter and Hilly, even though I wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't. We just like bonded over loving Gray. But once Aaron called me out, I realized that I needed to shift my strategy and I needed to pull away from certain people and not, I couldn't have everybody be like my number one. And that's not how it works. Like Hilly and I chatted a little bit after that, but you're right. I intentionally stopped reaching out. I wanted you to like forget about me because I played way too hard on that first vote because I needed to plant the Jaren seed and then just like get out of the picture. That's how I view it, at least. Like Ben, I feel like our connections, I tried to like amp up a little bit of how awkward I am because I am an awkward person. And so I sort of like lived in that a little bit while we were talking. Like these are all parts of me that are real. And I realized that if I was like all in on everyone, it wasn't going to work. Sophie, like I said, I intentionally didn't talk to you, which I feel bad about. You seem super cool, but I was like, I need to play socially in very different ways. And because I pulled back from y'all, you thought that I was in your pocket and that I was an easy vote with you and that I was like down to do whatever you wanted. So I was able to continue the narrative of like, oh, Jerry, we're going to finish what we started, which like, I would reach out to y'all like 30 minutes before the vote. And that's, in my opinion, bad gameplay. But I needed you to believe that I was playing poorer than I was. I understand that that's really hard to unwrite, and it's really hard to reshape your opinion of how I played. But I hope that you at least buy some of what I'm selling because it's true. It's true to me. It's what I saw as I was playing.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. We're going to go to Sophie next.
Hey guys, first I just want to say literally congrats to all three of you. This is a freaking hard game. It's long, it's tiring, it's emotionally exhaustive, and you guys did what none of the other people on the jury could do, which is you made it there no matter what your path was. You should all be so proud of that, stand by it, and really, take a good pat on the back for what you've done here. I have a question for each of you, and I think I'm going to start with Cam. Cam, I completely respect what you've said during this trial about you and I. I think we just were never lined up. We had very few conversations. I think near the end, I started messaging you like, LOL, we voted the same way today. How fun was that? Didn't even know it was going to happen. And, I think that I respect that we both we're pretty much like, yeah, that we don't really have each other's game. And, I respect you viewing it in the same way and, just appreciate that. So just for a fun question, since you are such a fan of the game, I'd love to know what you felt was the most exciting moment that you got to experience that was not your own. And it doesn't have to be somebody else sitting next to you. It can be anything else in the game. I'd love to hear what you thought was one of the best moments of QI as a fan.
As a fan, actually, this might not work as a fan. As a player who is a fan, I loved the scavenger hunt challenge at the beginning. And I sat out not fully understanding what it was. I'm owning up to that. But I was like, I'm in some random place. I don't have a car. If we have to go somewhere. And then it was 300 items and it was ridiculous. I literally got emotional at how much work people were putting into that. Like Ryan, even though he got called out as not working on it, I could tell that he was busting his butt because he was worried that our team starting out was so frightening. Truly, when I got put with all these people, I was like, I'm first out, I'm doomed. So anyway, watching people do those things, and I was on the side as a cheerleader, y'all are doing great. Haha, it's so funny. I was trying to keep things social, but it was transparent. That was so fun to watch. I hope that there are more videos out there for the fans to watch because it was amazing.
Do not release the worm, people. That was also my favorite. That was really great. Jerry. I think that tonight there's been a lot of conversation about a lot of things and potentially a lot of distractions. And I don't want anybody to lose focus about how amazing your game was. You literally did a phenomenal job. You played so many idols correctly. You built relationships. You know, had to do your whole Jaren thing and play such a visible game. And then you lost her and still had so many votes that you had to adapt and change from, and you were still able to do it. You had your name written down by everybody, myself included, where I tried to, you know, lie to you. And we had moments where I was like, yeah, I had to shoot my shot. And you were able to take it with grace and not hold grudges. Like after the Joy vote, I was blind with rage. And the fact that you could turn around and be able to like still play this game and have such composure and like a full spectrum of like seeing the game in the full light is incredible. So there are so many amazing moments. And I want to know, out of all the incredible things you did, what is your most proud moment of the game?
I guess the move I'm most proud of is kind of finding that first hidden immunity idol. I never expected to get it out of the gate, and just like, you know, paying attention to all those little details. I don't know if any of you found it, but it's like, if you got the link, you went to this YouTube video, you had to notice this Morse code around the frame of the YouTube video. And from there, you went onto a Twitter page. And from there, you had to scroll through the feed to find a specific photo with another link that you had to type in and finish a slider puzzle. Like that it was such an achievement for me. And winning that felt—
Waiting to hear what these were. Thank you. I was the least active in those. So thank you, Jerry. Now I know.
Of course. I mean, it was absolutely so exhilarating, and it felt like, you know, like actually being in the game, where, you know, it was a shift from all those little text-based clues that we got in previous seasons. And so having this be like this monumental mountain of a task was so exciting for me. And being able to play that and being able to set myself up to the point where people were going to write my name down so that I could assure myself that I wanted to take out the target that I wanted, was such an achievement. And entering that banishment with so much passion and fire. Like I'm famously terrible at answering a question. And so entering that banishment ceremony with, you know, periods, with fires, with objectives, with intentions was such a highlight for me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Charlotte, I know that tonight has not been easy for you and that it is a bit of an emotional journey, but you have played a very hard game. You have gone in with a lot of strategy, and I think you can only respect everybody coming to you, you know, with these questions as you would, you know, do in any other situation. When the merge purge happened, I didn't have that many allies yet, and I wanted to line up with somebody who I felt really loyal to. You came to me with the request to do what I consider a ride or die partnership. And I have seen the power of those amazing dynamics and relationships. You see the power of Jaren. You see the power of like a Gray and a Cam. And to me, that was something that was really exciting and that I wanted to do, and that I willingly thought was a really good strategy. And you, as a strategist, I knew that was something you also felt like a good strategy. And so I truly believed that you thought it was a good strategy and that we could do it together. And that was something we could really hold on to. You said that, you know, you didn't like the way that you played that. And if we could be loyal to each other throughout it and to the end, that you could feel good about your game. And to me, that was something that I took really personally. There were times when I felt like throughout the game, maybe we were on different wavelengths, but I always told you what I was thinking. I was always honest with you, and I never deceived you or tried to like do something shifty. All the way until the final vote, I was always honest with you. The night that I got voted out, I truly was straight up with you. I said, I am voting for Jerry because he will beat anybody in the finals. And I think you are going to be the next name if people are making moves. I don't see that as a dissolving of friendship or of a relationship. I look at that as me being real. And I always said I would tell you if I heard your name. And you're no dummy. Like, why would your name not be there? And for me, that is telling you until the very end, hey, your name is there. And, you know, I don't know any other way to do it. I truly did not think that there was another idol drop. So I apologize if you felt like me saying, hey, your name might be out there. Hopefully there's not an idol. You felt like that was, something that we were going different ways. I still was in the ride or die, and I had been truthful to you from beginning to end. Then to have you blindside me in a vote that truly did not feel like it needed to be a blindside, not even come to me and say, listen, I know you don't have an idol, because you definitely knew I didn't have an idol, and you had the numbers. I don't see any actual reason for you to want to do that after all we had been through, except for a theatrical show in a type of play that you'd already been doing a lot of really good moves. So I am genuinely, I know there's been a lot of talk about like personal play on emotions and whatever, but if what we had was not real, I do not understand why that ever had to be a blindside, and why you wouldn't have the respect to tell me it was my name, just like I was telling you, hey, you're a strong player, your name is going to be out there.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm really glad you asked it. That was just a gut call of, it felt like it would be better for you. It felt better to not tell you, in the sense that I just thought that it wouldn't feel as shitty. Honestly, that was my thought. And if that's the wrong call, I mean, that what clearly is the wrong call. It felt less shitty to say to you, hey, just so you know, 3 of us are debating back and forth whether or not we're going to vote out you or Hilly tonight. That felt like a shitty thing to do to you. And we honestly were going back and forth. And I honestly was pushing to vote out not you. And they can both vouch for that. But yeah, I think that's a very fair question. And like, I think for me, I guess like looking back on it, like knowing now, yeah, I should have told you, and maybe there would have been a better way to do that. And I apologize. It did not cross my mind, being completely honest.
All right, well, disappointed. I wish that it could have ended differently, but I understand, and the game is complicated. So
yeah, and being very sincere, like the way that things had been set up at that point, like the chances of you being in the final 3 at that point were very, very slim, unless
they
you
weren't that slim though, because you were supposed to be my ride or die. You had strategically told me, I know you said you didn't make any promises. You had promised me that we would pick each other in the end, and I had promised you the same.
We never
And
said that. We never said that we would pick each other in the end, Sophie, because if we had, I would have picked you in the end. I never made that promise. The only reason why I say that it was slim is that the way that things were at that point between me, Jerry, and Cam, the 3 of us had decided we were going to try as hard as we could to go against each other in the end. And so literally the only way for you to have been in the final as it was if you had won that final immunity challenge. And I had a feeling that if you had won that final immunity challenge, you likely would have taken me with you. So when I made the vote to vote, maybe not, maybe you wouldn't have.
I don't really need to hear much more. Clearly, I misread your messages and misheard you, because to me, it was very clear that we were in it till the end and that this was a ride or die. You can watch back my tweets, you can look at our chats, and clearly I misread all the signals, and that was not what you were saying. That is a personal miscommunication error on mine. I truly thought that we were supposed to be going at it till the end. And it was not slim pickings, because if I had truly had you like that, I knew Hilly had my back. Hilly can stand by it, and that we were going to have that vote. So it was not that slim. It hedged on you, and it hedged on that trust that I had built with you. And clearly I misread it, and good on you for playing me like that.
I really did not mean to make a play on you, and you'll watch my confessionals after this and you'll see the way I talked about you. My literal first confessional in this game is me saying, Sophie is so cool, I want to be her friend after this. That is my first confessional in this game before I even know you. I'm not talking about strategy. And I really genuinely was trying to be ride or die with you until the end. The way that you came to me on the last day, the way that it came to me was not, hey, just so you know, like, I'm hearing your name, let's try to get our heads together and do something about it, because we did have the ability to do it. It felt like you very much were saying to me, hey, it's probably Jerry, but if he is an idol, it's you, like, sorry. And so that was, at that point, I genuinely interpreted that as like, hey, we've come this far together, like, no hard feelings, here's where we are.
Totally. And I think we have different communication styles. You've heard a few people say I was a little bit more straight, and maybe you had different ways. And I guess the straightness that I had with other people didn't come across in that final one with you, even though I had been really straight till that end. But
When you
definitely
blindsided
understand.
Ben in season 1, did you tell him before you blindsided him?
First of all, there are differences in seasons. I don't think that the way I played season 1 is the way that I played this season. And I've been the first person to say that I didn't want to play the same way. So I don't think it's fair to bring in that type of act to this one. And I completely own, and Ben will tell you, that I own the blind side, and that I said to him, I got you, and I blindsided you in that first season. So
Just for the record there, we were on the opposite side of the vote right before that. Sophie and I made 0 promises to each other, and I was an absolute fool for believing in my sister-in-law, but she did nothing to make me believe that. So for the record, just to defend.
Anyways, I don't think it's about my game, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your answering all of our questions.
Okay, and last we're gonna go to Hilly.
Well, it looks like we lost Cam. Oh, there he is. Hi. Okay, so first of all, you guys are really lucky with me because I didn't play the game prior to merge with any of you and truly know nothing about your pre-merge gameplay, and also didn't watch your seasons. So everything I base my vote off of is the games we played together. Cam, I will start with I am disappointed we didn't talk more. I totally understand your logic, and I relate in a similar way because I had to rely on my game being all social. So I understand you're like not wanting to, I totally get it. I am just wishing you would have maybe done better jury management and considering like reaching out a little bit more here or there. That's where I feel like it's really lacking for me tonight with you. Shar, yeah, it was great to play with you. I had red flags with you from the beginning, and you knew that. And I was always telling people like, I still don't trust her. And I caught her in this lie. For me, it was more so though, like during votes, you would just frantically message me like, don't fuck me, don't do this. And things that were really intense and just like, dude, we agreed on a vote. Like, if you really trusted me, I don't feel like you would hound me like that. And it really turned me off and made it hard to trust you. So just like a note for why I always felt that way with you is like, I didn't feel a similar trust. And that felt very, in some ways, manipulative, but I don't think you were. I just think sometimes that bordered a line. Jerry, we played together a little bit. I think from the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't know, he's in, he's out. I also expressed in that one banishment, I had like a lot of desire to play with you and Aaron, and just felt really weirded out by this whole like Jaren talk from the beginning, since again, I didn't know most of you pre-merge and I didn't watch your past seasons. So I was really hoping to get to play with you, and I was really excited when we did finally link up. I will say what I appreciated about how you handled conversations we had together is kind of what was pointed out earlier, is like you were kind of really honest about like, oh, you took shots, like good try. And it's like, oh yeah, thanks for understanding. How's your day? The one thing that really disappointed me with your gameplay though is the night you kind of personally attacked Ben on one of our calls, it really just, I thought was an awkward tone. And from knowing you and the conversations we had, I just thought, even if you felt that way, maybe about Ben, or if it was some kind of gameplay, I just thought there could have been a little more love into that with how this game is. And it just, that for me, all of those things are what's kind of keeping you guys like at a 5% from 100% on my vote right now. Is just these little moments that really just put a bad taste in my mouth. And nothing to the degree of like on a personal level, but just really in thinking of this game and listening to all your speeches tonight, I truly respect all of your gameplays. So my question for all of you is, how much was jury management a part of your game? Because Jerry, idols, advantages, using the Jaren thing as a shield, leaning into that, saying you were working with Shar. Yes, we've heard all of that, but where was your jury management? Shar, yes, you freaking owned this game and you played us all and you played me, and I knew you were playing me and you still played me. I just want to know where in that was your jury management. Cam, same for you. You have owned that you were not speaking to us, that you were stepping back. But at the same time, the last 4 days, you hardly spoke to me in a way that makes me want to give you my vote. So I really need to know where the jury management lies and all of your defenses for why you should win, when I feel like I don't really know where you manage that part of the game. And that's a huge part of the game for me, because we are the jury and we give you the vote. So where was that management with all the other areas you guys excelled? Whoever wants to start, it's the same question for you all.
I can jump in. Yeah, this is hard. I mean,
I'm genuinely fine. Like, Cam, take this fucking question. You have a great answer for this.
or do I? I mean, for me, jury management was hard because I got called out by Aaron early on, which is like, I respect that. Thanks, Aaron. I still think you're great. Like, I wanted to be a few different things for people in this game. I wanted to be like fun and goofy and quirky and stuff. And I wanted to make connections, but I knew that I couldn't be in your DMs the whole time. I tried to use the merge channel as much as I could, but people just weren't reciprocating. People didn't want to do the wheel ceremony when Carter was asking everyone. That's Carter just left, but I've advocated so hard, and literally I tried to use my like social capital at that point. I was like, I will spend a token. We need to do this Zoom, this wheel ceremony. It's going to be so much fun. And I wanted to like have fun. And I feel like I tried, and some of y'all got that fun part of me and some of you didn't. For jury management, literally the reason that I had that call with you and Ben was so that I could show you what I'm capable of. And that was like a little bit of jury management. I tried to chat with you about how hard it is to play this game while also working like a full-time job. It's ridiculous. This game is a full-time job. I just like hope that people here understand that I genuinely wanted to learn from season 3, where I didn't talk to folks who are on the other side at all. Like Aaron and I, how many messages did we send on season 3? And it was literally me being like, Aaron, I think you're so cool, and I just want you to know that. Like, and it was awkward and weird. And so I wanted to have a little bit more of that this season. But it was hard, and it was hard to do it in a way that didn't make people think that I was like trying to be a smooth talker or scrambling to make moves. Like, yeah, that's what I got.
I appreciate that answer. Can I just ask then, just a yes or no? Do you feel like you excelled at jury management this season? Yes or no?
I could have done better.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that honesty.
Okay, I'm gonna go if you don't mind, Jerry. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, no, you go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Hilly. All right, and I hope that you meet me there. I'm gonna say something crazy. I don't think my jury management was very good. Okay, from tonight.
Can I stop you there and say this is the first time tonight I felt like you've been honest, and thank you. Like, not that you haven't been honest, but just owning something. And I've been wanting you all to just be honest. Like, if you fucked up jury management, you did.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Like, I think that it's very hard to come into Final Banishment and have like a very genuine, like, I want to own the game that I played. I'm so proud of the game that I played. I understand that for some of you, the being on the receiving of the end of that didn't feel like it felt complicated. But for me, I think I did a really good job. And pretty much every single one of you have prefaced your question with, you played an incredible game. And so I'm grateful to that. That being said, my jury management clearly was terrible because you guys all seem pretty like have a bad taste in your mouth from me. I think my headspace was, this is All Stars. We are all huge fans of this game. We are huge fans of social strategy. We are huge fans of TQI. And therefore, Charlotte, play the best possible game you can play. And people will look at that and respect that for what it is. But jury management is a huge part of this. And I completely own that. Clearly, I did a terrible job of that.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is just like, yes, you guys all played a phenomenal game, minus this one really important piece that I think really makes a full rounded actual perfect game. And so it's not saying that my comment in the beginning about your games are amazing is not true. I pointed out areas where I felt there were moments for me where you kind of lost some points even prior to being top 3, just like oof, 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 on my board of who I want to keep working with or who would get my vote. And so that's why I think that's really important. And I think it's really hard. So thank you for your honesty. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't take away from the amazing game you played. I hope you know that. It's just an element that I think, unfortunately, when you're on a top 3, you usually lose that aspect or that part of it. And if you can excel at it, and if you think you did or didn't here, I just want to know, so I know how to vote.
Cool. Thank you, Hilly.
I mean, I can answer
Jerry?
that question too. Hilly, I mean, Ben and I talked about it after the vote, and we kind of reached an amicable, we talked about it, and it was something that I definitely took too far, and I definitely tried to, it was something that I spoke faster than I could think, and it was something that we talked about and hashed out, and it was definitely something that was between us, and so I think we're on good terms right now.
Gary, that was a beautiful moment in the game, because the game gets really hard. I want to give you a lot of credit for that, because I know it can be hard to say sorry in the midst of a game, and I don't want to get emotional, but multiple people know that was a hard night for me, because it was, and I really appreciate the way you came to me after that, and that meant a lot to me, even though we were never on the same side, and we had barely talked before that, and that was a real moment. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to be real, and I was saying goodbye to Aaron at the same time, and I wasn't trying to be dismissive of Ben's analogy, because I was slacking people. I was like in the midst of so many things, and we were all in the midst of so many different things, and we were juggling a lot. I will say that in terms of jury management, I sucked at that. I didn't play the pre-merge game with a bunch of you, and so it felt like an uphill battle trying to work with you, Hilly, or work with Ben, and it sucked, to be honest. What I will say was that I tried to be open to people. I tried to listen to all the different perspectives. I tried to be approachable. I tried to be friendly. I always led with something personal, because that was my way into smoothing out strategy and that kind of stuff. So I mean, I tried my best, honestly, and that's all I can say.
Yeah, I don't bring up that Ben thing either. To actually, I knew you guys had talked and made peace, and I wanted to hear from you what that looked like for you, because I heard it from Ben, and I also just wanted, I guess, the rest of the world who watches to know that that had happened. And I'm sure maybe there were side videos, but I think it's an important aspect of the game, and just for you to own it. And again, it wasn't to bring up old wounds, but it was just to show, like, here are moments that came up. So thank you, Jerry, for being honest and owning that. Shar, thank you for being honest and owning that. And Cameron, thank you for being honest and owning your faults. Again, I know that's one of the hardest parts of the game, and I appreciate your honesty in answering that question.
Okay, we're now going to do closing statements before we do everyone's final votes, and we're going to begin with Charlotte. Are you okay to do your closing statement? Great. Go ahead.
I really think I laid out what I did tonight, or what I did in this game. I really appreciate you guys coming so hard at me. I think it comes from a respect for this game that we all have, and a respect for me as a player. I really appreciate it. I am really proud of myself. I worked so hard at this. I don't think there's a person who worked harder in this game than me. And I think that Jerry and Cam are both incredible players and are incredible representatives of All-Stars should they win. And I also know how hard I worked, and I am proud of myself. And I think that's all I have to say. I'm sorry. I'm grateful to the people that I've met through this community, and the people who are reaching out. It means a lot. And I do think that most people know the kind of person that I am and my character, and I hope that came across. And yeah, thank you guys for the hard questions. I appreciate the respect that shows.
Okay, and we're gonna go to Cam next.
This is hard. I acknowledge everybody is getting emotional, but I'm going to try to be here and positive. The way that I played this game for me was like a love letter to the community that exists around the game. I made a lot of mistakes in my season, and watching the game as a fan, I grabbed the best parts of other people's games and I tried to incorporate them. Katie from season 4 said that she thinks that friendship is a winning strategy, and I tried my best to do that. Cole from season 3 said he wanted to be everybody's number one, and I said I want to do that too, but not the last 2 people maybe. Jake and Deanna taught me, they're from season 3, they taught me to seek out and appreciate unlikely partnerships. Tommy taught me how to lie on Zoom. From his confessional, he said, I'm not lying, I'm just playing the role of liar. Erica taught me that you don't have to be the center of attention to affect what's going on. You can be a moon, and a moon around a planet, maybe Jerry's the planet, maybe Charlotte's the planet. It's not always visible, but I'm what makes the tide go in and I'm what makes the tide go out. Britt and Myers taught me that a dynamic duo in this game is everything. And I tried to find multiple dynamic duos who would have me. Like, I also learned from them that working on a clue together is a great way to earn trust. Casey taught me, I brought my hat just for this. Casey taught me that if I don't know what's going on and I want to hide my face, put my cap over my face. And she also said in her game, she taught me to be as lovely as possible to everybody, no matter what side of the vote we're on. Allison taught me that if I keep my hand like this, then I can freeze my face. She also taught me to hear out other people in Zooms and stuff, even if I wasn't sure if I was going to work with them. Jody taught me that you can be a weasel and still have people like you. Mary from season 2 taught me that you can vote with your heart and you can vote with your brain, but it's really hard to do both at the same time. Ezra from season 2 taught me that you should appreciate every new day and treat it as if it is a gift, because it is. Scott and Corey both taught me that I'm way more into mustaches than I ever realized. Aaron taught me that even though I have anxiety, I also can have confidence and I can own what I did and I can own how I played. Charlotte taught me how to think with the game brain. You taught me how to identify when people are feeling comfortable and how that feels when you're left out of something. And that feels so bad on a personal level and a game level. And whenever I felt like someone in this game was getting comfortable, I was like, they're my next target. Jerry, you taught me how to chill out, or rather you tried to teach me how to chill out, but it wasn't successful because I'm physically and mentally incapable at this point in my life, but it's something I'm gonna work on. Kelsey, I'm so grateful that you have created this game and this community and this thing that we all can do. And it's so hard. It's obviously so hard, but like, it's worth it. I know it's worth it. And this community is what's getting me through this year. It's such a hard year, and we're all doing the best we can.
Okay, Jerry, we're gonna go to you.
Oh gosh, it's so hard to follow up with that. That was beautiful. I think these 2 people sitting right next to me, they're incredible, loving, truly just absolute joys to be around. And I just don't, I have no words for their growth, for their, adaptability and their kindness. It truly it's been such a gift to work with them and be friends with them. And we've talked so much game for the past 2 freaking hours, and I love it, honestly. I'm obsessed with it. We've given our sweat, our tears, our time, all of it. And I just want to bring it back a couple steps. And it's crazy to think that I'm 23, and I, along with a lot of other Zillennial folks, like, we grew up on the internet. I have a performing arts degree, but I make my money doing design. That's a skill that I learned entirely on my own through YouTube videos, through just looking on the subway at posters, all this kind of stuff. So I've used the internet as a resource to learn, to grow, to get information. And this next thing may come across as sad and pitiful, but Going on the internet was my way of connecting with the world. I've been groomed since the 5th grade to build connections with people and find common ground without ever having to meet face to face. So this entire experience felt like a return to that. And I'm so glad I've gotten to meet each and every one of you in this context, because I don't know how I'd be able to cross paths with you in any other situation. So this pandemic and these circumstances are so bizarre, yet everyone playing feels so grounded and real and so unique, and everyone has an amazing story, and everyone should celebrate their time on this show. So I want to thank all of you for an amazing season. I want to thank the producers, the players, the viewers. This wouldn't have been the experience it was without all of us, committing, taking the jump, making risks, taking the gamble, and investing in the quality of this experience. So I'm standing here very thankful and very happy and very content. And I want to sign off by saying, please drink water and eat your vegetables.
Thank you, Jerry. It is now time to vote. When I say your name, you're going to Slack me directly. I already have the mini jury's vote, so we're going to begin with Gray. Okay, next I'm going to go to Carter.
Can you give me go to someone else real quick? I just need to.
Sure, we can go to Aaron. Next, I'm going to go to Shannon.
Skip.
Okay, Ben. Sophie. Hilly. Carter, I'm back to you.
Okay.
Shannon. Okay, I have all the votes. I will reveal that tomorrow. First, I want to say thank you to the jury for being here tonight and asking questions. Thank you to the fans for showing up and lasting 2.5 hours. Really appreciate you. Thank you to the producers to helping make tonight run so smoothly and all of this run so smoothly. The last thing I want to say, well, I have 2 things I want to say. First, I want to say is that All Stars is fucking hard. Marissa can attest. She and I did November Team Challenge. We thought, oh, All Stars is going to be fun like this. And it was not, because we know all of you now. We know all of you now, and it feels very difficult to see people be misunderstood and feel like you have friendships with everyone. I want to say that these 3 finalists, Jerry, Cam, and Charlotte, I know them all individually and have the privilege of being friends with them, are incredible people who have phenomenal hearts, and they played the shit out of this game. And that's all I could ever ask for, right? Is to have 3 very passionate, incredible game players make it to the end. I mean, what better thing could I ask for? I just think they're so phenomenal, and I'm so proud of all 3 of you. Tonight was a really fucking hard night. QI Reply is on after this. It's with Kat and Becca. They'll be on with Jake. You can catch up on our YouTube. Confessionals tomorrow reunion will be at 4:30. The last thing I really want to say, I have all the votes, obviously won't reveal it. Gender bias is so fucking real, and I'm fucking angry in general. We've seen this every season. Jake and Casey, Erica and Tommy, Charlotte and Jerry and Cam. We're talking about it tomorrow in general, because the way that you guys hold men and women accountable, so fucking different. So I just want everyone to kind of think about that tonight. Have a good night.